There is a particular comfort in a chip shop supper. The vinegar sharp in the air, the paper warm in your hands, the first salty chip too hot to chew. But these days, a fish supper for one can cost the better part of a tenner, and the walk to the chippy feels longer than it used to. The good news is that nearly everything behind that steamed glass counter can be made in your own kitchen for pennies, in portions sized for one, with hardly any washing up. So put the kettle on. Here are 25 cheap British chip shop teas you can make at home, each built for a quiet evening, a small appetite, and a tight budget. Let us begin the countdown. Number 25. Chips and scraps. Down south they call them bits. Up north they are scraps. And in every chippy they were once free for the asking. Those crisp little nuggets of fried batter scattered over hot chips were the cheapest treat going, and you can make them at home for next to nothing. The next time you batter anything, drizzle the leftover batter into the hot oil in thin trails and let it crisp golden. Scatter the scraps over a small portion of chips, a good shake of salt, a splash of vinegar, and you have a supper that tastes of seaside Saturdays. For one person, it costs barely 30 pence, uses up what you would have thrown away, and asks nothing of you but a fork. It is humble, crunchy, and quietly perfect. Number 24. Battered mushrooms. Long before posh restaurants discovered them, the chippy was frying button mushrooms in a light batter and selling them by the bagful. They make a lovely little tea for one because a small punnet costs under £1 and stretches across 2 evenings. Wipe the mushrooms, dip them in a thin batter of plain flour, a pinch of bicarbonate of soda, and cold, sparkling water, then fry until the coating turns pale gold and crisp. The mushroom inside goes soft and savory, almost meaty, releasing its juices in a hot little burst. 6 or 8 of these on a side plate, with a wedge of lemon or a dab of garlic mayonnaise, feel like an indulgence yet cost pennies. Easy on the teeth, easy on the purse, and ready in 10 minutes flat. Number 23. Pickled egg and chips. That cloudy jar on the chip shop counter held one of Britain's great forgotten suppers. A pale, vinegar-soaked egg, sliced over hot chips, the sharpness cutting clean through the grease. You can pickle your own for almost nothing. Boil half a dozen eggs, peel them, and submerge them in a jar of malt vinegar with a teaspoon of peppercorns and a bay leaf. In a week they are ready, and they keep for a month in the fridge. One pickled egg costs perhaps 15 pence, and quartered over a small plate of chips, it makes a tangy, protein-rich tea that needs no cooking once the eggs are done. For a senior living alone, a jar on the shelf means supper is always half made, waiting patiently for the moment you fancy it. Number 22. Beans and chips. Sometimes the simplest tea is the one you go back to. A small tin of baked beans, warmed in a pan, poured steaming over a plate of chips, is the kind of supper that asks nothing and gives everything. A tin costs around 30 pence, and half a tin is plenty for one, with the rest keeping covered in the fridge for tomorrow. The beans soften the chips at the edges where they touch, the sweet tomato sauce pooling underneath, and a little grated cheese melted on top turns it from a snack into a proper meal. It is warm, filling, gentle on the stomach, and ready in the time it takes the kettle to boil. No chip shop ever made it better than your own kitchen can. Number 21. Fried cod roe. Here is one the youngsters have never heard of, yet it was a chippy staple for generations. Soft cod roe, sold cooked and ready in a tin or fresh from the fishmonger, sliced thick, dipped in batter, and fried until crisp outside and creamy within. A tin costs around £1 and gives 2 good portions. Slice it a finger thick, Coat it in seasoned flour or light batter, and shallow fry in a little oil until golden on both sides. The inside turns soft and rich, with a delicate, almost custard-like texture that tastes of the sea without any bones to worry about. Served with bread and butter or a few chips, it is an old-fashioned tea that feels like a forgotten luxury, and it costs less than a loaf. Number 20. Potato fritters. Up north they are called scallops, a thick slice of potato dipped in batter and deep fried until the outside shatters and the middle turns to fluff. They were the cheapest thing in the shop, often just a few pence, because a single potato made several. At home, slice a large potato into rounds about a centimeter thick, parboil them for 5 minutes so the center cooks through, then dip in batter and fry until golden. One potato makes a whole plateful for under 20 pence. The contrast is the joy of it, that crisp shell giving way to soft, steaming potato inside, salted and vinegared like a proper chippy treat. For someone cooking for one, a single spud has rarely fed so well or so cheaply. Number 19. Battered onion rings. The chip shop onion ring was a thing of beauty, a sweet ring of onion in a crisp golden jacket, and making them at home costs almost nothing. One large onion, peeled and sliced into thick rings, will give you a generous plateful for around 20 pence. Separate the rings, dip them in a batter of flour, bicarbonate of soda, and cold water, or even a splash of beer. Then fry until they turn deep gold and the onion inside softens to sweetness. 6 or 7 rings make a lovely supper alongside a fried egg or a few chips, the onion going meltingly tender while the coating stays crunchy. They take minutes, they cost coppers, and the smell of frying onion fills the kitchen with the cheerful promise of a chip shop tea. Number 18. The chip butty. Perhaps the most British supper of them all. Hot chips, buttered bread, a shake of salt, and nothing else needed. For a senior living alone, it is the easiest tea imaginable and one of the cheapest, costing little more than the price of a couple of potatoes and 2 slices of bread. Butter the bread thickly, pile in the hot chips, press down gently so the butter melts into them, and add a smear of brown sauce or ketchup if you fancy. The soft bread, the crisp chips, the melting butter. It is comfort distilled to its simplest form. Up north they call it a chip balm or a chip muffin, but whatever the name, it has filled British bellies for a century. Nothing fancy, nothing wasted, and entirely satisfying. Number 17. EGG and chips. A plate of chips crowned with a fried egg, the yolk waiting to be burst and run golden over everything, is one of the great cheap teas of British life. It costs pennies, an egg for around 20 pence and a potato or 2, yet it eats like a proper meal. Fry your chips or oven bake them, while a single egg sizzles in a little oil, the white going lacy and crisp at the edges, the yolk left soft and bright. Slide it over the chips, pierce the yolk, and let it pool down into every gap. A slice of bread and butter on the side, and you have a supper fit for any evening. Quick, nourishing, and endlessly comforting, it is the meal that has fed students, workers, and pensioners alike for generations. Number 16. Spam fritters and chips. During the war and long after, the spam fritter was a chip shop favorite, a slice of tinned meat in a crisp batter coat. A tin of luncheon meat costs around £1 and gives 4 thick slices, so 2 suppers from 1 tin. Dip each slice in batter and fry until the coating turns golden and the meat inside warms through and crisps slightly at the edges. Served with a handful of chips and a spoonful of beans or peas, it is a hearty, savoury tea that takes 10 minutes and costs perhaps 50 pence a plate. It carries the taste of make-do Britain when nothing was wasted and a humble tin could feed a family for days. For one person, it is filling, frugal, and faintly nostalgic in the best possible way. Number 15. Chips and cheese. Before it became fashionable, the chip shop was piling grated cheese over hot chips and letting it melt into glorious strings. It is a supper you can make in minutes for one, and it costs barely anything. Cook your chips until hot and crisp, tip them into a bowl while still steaming, and scatter over a handful of grated cheddar so the heat melts it through. A little salt, a twist of pepper, and perhaps a splash of brown sauce, or even a ladle of gravy on top, and you have a warm, savory tea that sticks to your ribs. For around 40 pence a portion, it delivers comfort by the forkful, the cheese stretching and clinging to every chip. Easy to make, easy to eat, and exactly the kind of small indulgence a quiet evening calls for. Number 14. Chicken and chips. Not the takeaway bucket, but the simple chippy version. A piece of chicken in crisp batter or breadcrumbs beside a pile of golden chips. A pack of chicken thighs costs little, and a single thigh feeds one person well. Coat it in seasoned flour and breadcrumbs, or a light batter. Then fry or oven bake until the skin turns deep gold and the meat inside stays juicy. Thighs are cheaper than breast, more forgiving to cook, and far more flavoursome, often under 50 pence each. Served with chips and a few peas, it makes a substantial, satisfying tea that costs a fraction of any takeaway. The smell of frying chicken fills the kitchen, and for a senior living alone, it is proof that a proper hot dinner need not be expensive, complicated, or large. Number 13. Cornish pasty and chips. The pasty was the original portable meal, a whole dinner of meat and potato sealed in pastry, and a shop-bought one beside a few chips makes a fine, fuss-free tea. A single pasty costs around £1, sometimes less on the reduced shelf, and reheats beautifully in the oven until the pastry crisps and the filling steams. Slice it open, and the savory smell of seasoned beef, potato, and swede rises up, hearty and warming. Add a handful of chips and a spoonful of beans or peas, and you have a supper that fills you properly without any cooking skill required. For one person, it is ideal. No chopping, no mess, just 20 minutes in the oven. It is the working man's dinner reborn as the perfect easy tea for a quiet night in. Number 12. Faggots, chips and peas. Here is a proper old British tea that has all but vanished from the high street. Faggots, those soft, savoury meatballs of seasoned pork wrapped in rich onion gravy, were once sold in every chip shop and butcher across the Midlands and Wales. A pack of 2 or 4 costs around £1, and a single faggot makes a generous portion. Heat them gently in their gravy until piping hot, pile beside a mound of chips or mash, and add a spoonful of mushy peas. The gravy soaks into everything, dark and savoury and deeply comforting. It is a tea that tastes of another age, soft enough for any appetite, and so cheap it shames the supermarket ready meals. For a senior living alone, it brings back the flavour of suppers long remembered. Number 11. Chips and gravy. Cross the Pennines and chips without gravy is barely chips at all. That ladle of thick, glossy gravy poured over hot chips is one of the North's great cheap suppers, and you can make it at home for pennies. A jar of gravy granules costs around £1 and lasts for weeks. 2 teaspoons stirred into a mug of boiling water, giving you a rich, steaming gravy in seconds. Pour it over your chips while everything is hot, and the chips soften where the gravy touches, soaking up all that savoury warmth. A little grated cheese melted on top turns it into the famous chips, cheese and gravy. It costs barely 30 pence a plate, takes minutes, and on a cold evening alone there are few things more comforting than a fork lifting gravy-soaked chips to a grateful mouth. Number 10. Saveloy and chips. That bright red sausage glistening under the chip shop lights was once the Friday night reward for half of working Britain. The saveloy, a smooth, peppery, ready-cooked sausage, only needs warming through, which makes it one of the easiest teas going. A pack costs around £1 and gives several, each one a proper portion. Simmer it gently in hot water for a few minutes, or warm it in the oven, then serve alongside a pile of chips with salt and vinegar. The skin has a satisfying snap, the inside dense and savory and faintly spiced. For one person, it is supper in minutes with hardly any effort, no raw meat to handle, no careful cooking, just a warm, familiar sausage that carries the taste of countless chip shop queues and cheerful Friday nights. Number 9. Mushy peas. No chip shop tea is complete without them. Those thick, green, gloriously gloopy, mushy peas that anchor the plate. Made from dried marrow-fat peas, they cost almost nothing, a bag of dried peas being barely £1 and stretching across many meals. Soak them overnight with the little tablet that comes in the pack, then simmer with a pinch of salt and sugar until they collapse into a soft, savory mush. They keep well in the fridge for days, so one batch feeds you all week. A spoonful beside fish, sausage, or pie, or simply heaped on buttered bread, makes a warm and nourishing supper. Soft, easy to eat, packed with goodness, and astonishingly cheap, mushy peas are the unsung hero of British chip shop teas and a friend to anyone cooking for one. Number 8. Chips and curry sauce. That mild, golden, faintly sweet curry sauce was the chip shop's nod to something exotic, and millions came to love it. You can make a version at home for coppers using a curry sauce mix from any supermarket, costing under £1 a box and lasting many meals. A spoonful of the powder whisked into boiling water thickens in seconds into a glossy, gently spiced sauce. Pour it over hot chips, and the chips drink it up, turning a plain plate into something warming and Moorish. Add a few peas or a sliced sausage, and you have a full tea for around 50p. It is mild enough not to trouble a delicate stomach, ready in minutes, and unmistakably the taste of the chippy. A small jar of the powder in the cupboard means this comforting supper is always within reach. Number 7. Fish cakes and chips. The traditional British fish cake, a round of mashed potato and flaked fish in a crisp coating, was a chip shop bargain and remains one of the best cheap teas you can make. A tin of tuna or salmon costs around £1, and mixed with mashed potato, it makes 4 fish cakes, enough for several suppers. Combine the fish with mash, a little parsley and pepper, shape into rounds, coat in flour or breadcrumbs, and fry until golden on each side. The outside crisps while the inside stays soft and savory. They freeze beautifully too, so a batch made on Sunday becomes easy teas through the week, ready to fry whenever hunger calls. Number 6. Scampi and chips. Those little golden nuggets of breaded scampi in a basket were the height of chip shop sophistication, and a bag from the freezer aisle brings them home for a fraction of the price. A box of breaded scampi costs around £2 and gives several servings, so a handful makes a tidy supper for one. Spread them on a tray and bake or fry until the breadcrumbs turn deep gold and the scampi inside goes tender and sweet. A wedge of lemon, a spoonful of tartar sauce, a few chips and some peas, and you have a tea that feels like a treat, yet costs barely £1 a plate. They cook from frozen in minutes, with no fuss and no waste, which makes them ideal for a single appetite on an evening when you fancy something a little special. Number 5. Battered sausage and chips. Few things say chip shop like a fat sausage in a crisp golden coat of batter. Making it at home is simplicity itself and remarkably cheap. A pack of sausages costs around £1 and gives several teas. Dip a cooked or part-cooked sausage in a batter of flour, bicarb, and cold water. Then fry until the coating puffs and crisps to deep gold. The sausage inside steams hot and juicy within its crunchy shell. Beside a pile of chips with salt and vinegar, one battered sausage makes a hearty, satisfying supper for under 50p. The batter seals in all the flavor and turns a humble banger into something special. For a senior living alone, it is proof that the most comforting chip shop classics are also among the easiest and cheapest to recreate. Number 4. Meat and potato pie, chips and gravy. In the north, this is supper royalty, a sturdy pie crowned with golden pastry, set beside chips and drowned in gravy. A shop-bought meat and potato pie costs around £1, sometimes far less reduced, and reheats in the oven until the crust crisps and the filling bubbles. Slide it onto a plate, add a handful of chips, and pour over a good ladle of gravy made from granules in seconds. The pastry shatters under the fork, the filling rich with beef and soft potato, the gravy tying it all together. A spoonful of mushy peas finishes it properly. For one person, it is a full, warming dinner for little more than £1. No skill required beyond switching on the oven. It is the taste of football Saturdays and market town calves, brought home to a quiet kitchen. Number 3. Steak and kidney pie and chips. The king of chip shop pies, dark and rich, its suet pastry holding chunks of beef and kidney in deep, savory gravy. A good shop-bought one costs around £1.50, and on the reduced shelf often far less, making it a true bargain for a single supper. Heat it through in the oven until the pastry turns glossy and the filling steams. Then serve beside chips with a ladle of gravy poured generously over both. The first cut releases a cloud of meaty steam, the gravy thick and fragrant, the pastry soft underneath and crisp on top. With a spoonful of peas, it is a feast for one for under £2. It carries the memory of every proper chippy and pub, a hearty, old-fashioned tea that warms you right through on the coldest evening alone. Number 2. Sausage, egg, and chips. This is the cafe and chippy classic that never grows old, a banger, a fried egg, and a pile of chips, the trinity of the great British tea. Each part costs coppers, a sausage and an egg together under 40p, yet the plate eats like a proper feast. Fry or grill the sausage until browned all over, slip an egg into the pan beside it so the white crisps and the yolk stays runny, and pile up the chips alongside. Burst the yolk and let it run down into the chips, salt and vinegar at the ready. It is quick, it is filling, and it asks for no special effort or skill. For a senior living alone, it is the supper you can make on any evening with what is already in the fridge. Comfort and value in equal measure. Number 1. Fish and chips. And finally, in first place, the supper that crowns them all. Golden battered fish beside hot, fluffy chips, the dish that gave the chip shop its very name. A fish supper out can now cost the best part of a tenner, but at home you can make it for a quarter of that. A frozen fillet of cod or haddock costs around £1, or buy fresh from the fishmonger's reduced tray. Dip it in a batter of flour, bicarbonate of soda, and ice-cold sparkling water, then fry until the coating turns crisp and golden, and the fish inside flakes white and tender. Cut your own chips from a single potato, and fry or oven bake them until soft within and crunchy without. Salt, vinegar, a spoonful of mushy peas, and a slice of bread and butter on the side. The first bite, that crackle of batter giving way to steaming fish, the chips soft and salty, is pure Friday night happiness. For one person, a proper fish and chip supper made at home costs under £2, fills you completely, and tastes every bit as good as the chippy ever did. It is the simplest of luxuries, and it has been bringing comfort to British tables for over 150 years. There they are, 25 cheap chip shop teas you can make in your own kitchen, every one sized for one and kind to your purse. Which will you try first this week? Tell me in the comments, and if this brought back a few happy memories, do give it a thumbs up. Take care of yourselves and enjoy your tea.